Welcome to Uncommon Courtesy.
We give you the courtesy of conversation.
That's uncommonly spoke of.
I'm D-Mac.
I'm Wesley.
And this is the show. I'd like to thank everybody for subscribing to our channel. We've hit 10,000 subscribers. Thank you all for watching and sticking with us and coming to us for your news. Like, listen, subscribe if you're new here, if you're a last-time viewer. Once again, shout out to our sponsors, Crime Scene Seasoning, presented by DocLovesTheKids.org. I want to start off with something that's kind of been flying under the radar for a lot of us, but for us, it's like we've been trying to build up a lot of information here. We're going to give you some, and we're going to come back and touch on this subject. This is called Project 2025, and this is the Republican blueprint for when they feel Donald Trump will get reelected. Now, the difference from this and when Donald Trump first got elected is they didn't have this stuff in place because they didn't think he was going to win. Because, he was just in the race just to show them, hey, I could probably win this, and he won. And so it was kind of like a dummy
like a dummy run.
Yeah, it was a dummy run. So now they're prepared. They got all their groups together. And I just want to read off a couple of things that they plan to do. First of all, they want to dismantle the NOAA. It's a weather system forecast that tells you about tornadoes, hurricanes, flooding. They want to get rid of that as weather trackers. And then it also protects marine life. So basically what they're trying to get rid of is people talking about weather. Climate change. Exactly. They're going to get rid of those people because they don't believe in climate change. So they're going to get rid of these organizations. They're getting rid of Head Start. They actually are going to dismantle the whole education system as a whole because they feel they're teaching CRT or critical race theory, which is just basically Black history. It's true Black history. So they're getting rid of that out of schools. Mm-hmm. They're banning porn in any form. Sex education would be gone. People who make porn or teach or sell any forms of nudity or sexual education will be jailed and registered as sex offenders. As they are saying, they are not protected by the First Amendment. They want to install a pro-life task force, and then they want to also implement a nationwide abortion ban. And the pro-life task force is actually going to go around, and they have plans in there too, where they see that where same-sex marriages, those people aren't fit to have kids. They want to go back to the nucleus of what they feel is the nuclear family. So they want it to be a man and a woman in a home. If it's not a man and a woman in a home, they're going to have the right to take your children. So if it's 2 men, 2 women, you have children, they're going to take your kids. If you're a single mother, they're going to come and take your kids. Wow. They're not doing this anymore. Look, they're going to give Trump unitary executive power, which basically means that where he can just go around Congress. He can allocate funds. So say the West Coast is burning from a wildfire. They're about to send funds to help them out. He can say, stop. They don't get those funds. We're going to send it to a different state. And no one can stop him. They're going to give him this power. They want to
they're saying they basically want to make put everything under direct presidential control. The entire federal bureaucracy, including independent agencies such as the Department of Justice, be placed under direct presidential control. And this is crazy. I mean, you got the immigration laws, increased funding for a wall on the U.S.-Mexico border, but this was already something that Trump has been expounding. They're already talking about kicking out millions and millions and millions of asylum seekers, immigrants. This is already migrants from this country. Basically, they're in a lot of states. They've already kind of gotten to a point to where they've given the law enforcement broad discretion to say, "Hey, you look like you might be here illegally. Let me go ahead and take you to jail. Let me pull this car over because they look like they might not, be from this country." And so discrimination is key to this whole component of this new 2025 law. I mean, these guys, they set up on Capitol Hill, and I think Jasmine Sullivan, she's a Democratic representative, kind of grilled the guy about it. Like, man, this is what the government's going to look like next year, because this is what they're proposing next year if he gets in office. Basically, I mean, like you said, a unilateral workaround for them to be able to take out lifetime. Like in the federal government, it's very hard to get employees of the government out of there. They're basically trying to make it so he can go in and fire everybody. A guy I was watching a guy today on Katie Couric's show, and he basically said that what they're going to do is they're going to go in and fire 20, 30, 40,000 people, and basically wait for the courts to deal with it and see what the courts say about it. If the courts come back and say, "Oh, this was illegal," then they can try to reinstate them from there. But that's what this is what they're trying to accomplish.
They want to instate. They want to bring in people that aren't skilled. They want to bring in people that are loyalists to them. Yeah. They're going to make it where he can go around. And so what they're doing is they know that their policies and their politics don't make it past the national elections. No one believes in their stuff. Their policies are bad. Like, I mean, they're like archaic, basically. And so what they're going to do, they're not going to give you a chance to vote on it. They're just going to implement them. They're going to make women lose their jobs and stay home with their children. You're going to have to stay. They're not going to let you divorce an abusive husband. They're going to force you to stay in these relationships and raise your children. They're setting us back. They're going to have a nationwide abortion ban. Trans rights are going to be gone. Gay rights are going to be gone. They're going to do a Muslim ban, mass deportation. They're going to get rid of Pell Grants. They're going to erase Black history from the schools, saying it's CRT.
Think about that. I mean, this is already stuff. We sit back. I watched a person on my Facebook page today talking about my gas is, I pay this much for gas, and you know, my bills have gone up by this amount, so I don't care about 34 felonies. You know what I mean? And this isn't to say anything negative about the person. It's just the ideology, the thought process of that. When we can see that this sounds like we're trying to scare. That's what they want you to think. They're trying to scare you. They're trying to scare you. But in reality, they've already done this. There's already an abortion ban. They've already put in law where to the Supreme Court, they've already overturned Roe v. Wade. You know, and so a lot of this stuff that they have the Muslim ban. And in Louisiana, they passed the law where all the classrooms have to show the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments. This is not just in schools. This is all the way through college.
Separation of school through separation of church and state is a law.
They've bypassed it. They know this is going to. I think the ACLU they're going to try and get this overturned because they understand that it should be overturned. But when you have justices like Alito, who we know this guy was flying a flag upside down, which represents, you know, a disbelief or a belief in the election being rigged. You know, we know how these people are going to vote. They still haven't come back with whether the president is
immune to prosecution of any kind.
Exactly.
And they're supposed to do it this month. Actually,
they've gotten other things done very, very, very quickly when it came to Trump.
Well, because there's too many people on the Supreme Court that would actually go down with him.
For Super Tuesday, I think there was another. I can't remember what it was, but they got done before Super Tuesday, where they made sure that there was no ambiguity on whether or not Trump was guilty of this crime or whether he or not. They made sure of it. They made sure to rule on that. But this, they're dragging their feet. And then some of the arguments they made were just outlandish about it. You know, so I mean, and Trump's own defense attorney basically was saying like, well, the president can kill one of his own adversaries if he felt like that person was against the country. If he felt like, you know, he can kill another presidential a candidate because of this. It's just crazy. He can use the military to do certain things, you know, like even during Trump's presidency, he told his Secretary of State, I think that he wanted to use he wanted the military to go in when people were protesting and start shooting them. He was like, can we at least shoot him in the leg or something? You know, like this is what he said. His Secretary of State came out and said this after he got rid of him. So, I mean, this isn't hyperbole. This isn't anything that we're trying to scare you with. This is just facts.
This is facts. They wrote this. You can actually find this online. It's called Project 2025. The whole manifesto is up there. As we read through it and get more, because it's about 300 some odd pages, this is just like the cliff notes of the stuff that we found in there. Mm-hmm. And people need to understand, like, they're probably going to implement this. You know, if you wait, and I've been saying this many times to my colleague here, when you wait 3 years to actually try to prosecute people that try to overthrow the United States government, you've already lost.
You already lost.
They've already started to do it. Even in the Florida school system, John DeSantos implemented where they have to teach the kids white nationalism. I was telling you off camera, and I'm going to say now, I think Florida is going to be the first state to try to implement slavery again.
In some form.
No, private slavery, because you can actually still own slaves if you have them in jail.
Exactly. I mean, in some form. And that people will say, like, they'll look at you like, there's no way. When you first told me, I was like, slavery, I don't think that's, as you think about it, the way it's a workaround to get to where they want to go.
That's in the Constitution.
There's ways to
it's in the Constitution.
The process of it may not be direct slavery of just black people like we think of it as it is. It may just be more prison kind of workforces and things like that, like using them more to do certain types of things. So it's something that you really need to pay attention to. Like even in Atlanta, where they have that cop city going on down there, they've kind of melded in with the entire. They're looking at this kind of like because they have some Israeli forces that are going to come in and kind of help them to train those cops in Cop City in Atlanta. And the people are speaking out saying, no, we don't want these people here because they're over there basically practicing over in Gaza about what they're going to try to do to us. And so this is an important fact. This 2025 thing,
and they're taking, and that cop city is going to be in Atlanta, correct? Right?
Yep.
Yeah. Now think about this, folks. What they're doing to these people in Gaza, and we've been saying it for a while. Yo, they're training to come do that to us in America. Think about it. If a country like Israel can get away with it, who's going to stop America from doing it?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's gone on. It's gone on for a long time. These people have a true agenda that's spelled out, and a lot of it seems Christian in nature when you look at it. Oh, we want to get rid of pornography. Not saying it's important, but it's important. It's important as far as freedom is concerned. You know, because they're saying like it could be anything. It could be a book of an ovary in school, and they can call that pornography.
They call it pornography, and they're saying that trans and gay rights they don't have. They're saying that's basically part of the pornography stuff too, and so you won't have any rights. That goes for everybody here in America. You know, we're supposed to have the same rights as everyone else. They're trying to take us back to the 1950s in negative. You know, and that time was only good for one demographic, and that was white men.
It's already happening, though. You know,
yeah, they're doing it.
This isn't something that we're just saying to you because a lot of times during the election cycle, I will agree that Democrats come out and next thing you know, everything's racist, everything's against black people. It's a scare tactic that they use. But a lot of this, you have to look at the facts. Look at what's happening here. I had a conversation with someone. I'm like, hey, how many black people did Trump have in his cabinet?
Ben Carson,
the HUD secretary. Basically, when it came to important things, you're not at this table. Ben Carson's not at the table when you're talking about very, very important things. So what does that tell you? If you're not represented in the room, they're probably talking bad about you. There's a reason why you're not there, because he don't trust you, first of all. That's why there wasn't any of us there, because he doesn't trust us enough to put us in the upper echelons of power. You got to remember that. I know they say, then they come back and they say, well, Biden's racist too. But you know what? Biden had to have people of color around him. He's had people of color around him every step of the entire way.
Well, that's a Democratic thing. They have colored people around you. The only reason we really elected Barack Obama is because we were coming out of 8 years of straight war and watching our fellow Americans coming back, missing arms, legs, and having mental problems. So we wanted to have a change. But Democrats don't care about black folks either, because if they did, he would just implement the Voting Rights Act. They don't care, because as long as they get the vote, they get the vote. But this affects everybody, not Democrats and not just Republicans. If you're not a white male in America, all this stuff is going against you.
Absolutely. I mean, you start looking at the things as far as women's rights, you sit back and that's a big subject, because we understand, like, some people, you want to roll back on some of these things. When you start taking rights away from one, you start taking rights away from everybody. So this is a super important thing. We need to dig more into it later, I believe.
And a lot of people are like, hey, pro-life this, pro-life that. Well, I mean, what if your child got raped by a pack of niggas and now you're about to have a mulatto grandkid? Dude, would you want that child to come to earth?
I mean,
well, your state's saying it has to.
Who said that? Who was the person who used that?
Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson. That's why I don't mess with his movies no more at all. I don't watch. I like Braveheart too.
I like Apocalypto.
But I don't watch any Mel Gibson that comes out. I refuse.
I don't hold that against Mel Gibson, man. Like, for me, I just heard a man talking to his ex-girl, and he's trying to say the most vicious things to hurt her feelings.
So the most vicious thing you can think of.
He said a lot of stuff, but that was just part of it. That was a part of it.
That's the most vicious thing you can
Is he a piece of shit for it? Yes.
You don't want to. It's the worst thing that can happen to you.
That's not all the worst. He said a whole bunch of stuff.
Okay, but there's no reason for you to say that. You know what I would say? Well, I hope that you get raped by a pack of. It would never come out of our mouth. That just tells you what he thinks of black people. What he's telling you is his true thoughts of you. They're the worst possible scum of it.
I think Hulk Hogan did worse than him.
I don't mess with him either. Yeah. Just like I don't mess with the dude from the one movies. Where he got to go find his kid all the time. Or what's his name?
Home Alone?
Liam Neeson or whatever his name is.
Liam Neeson.
I don't mess with him either, because he said some stuff like that too.
Liam Neeson, he was like, look, he's like, when I was young, this happened to this lady friend of mine. And so I walked around for 2 weeks just looking for a random black dude. That's what people got out of it. But he said, then I got older and I realized what I was doing. He's like, I realized the hate that I had inside of myself was just making it so I was just looking at these people as a whole instead of the individual that did it.
With you on that.
That's why he was on the show Atlanta.
I will forgive him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why he was explaining. But people just took it, he was just hunting him. He's like, no, he explained. He's like, look, I had to learn in myself that I had this racism in me and I had to get rid of it.
I'll forgive him for that.
Yeah.
And I'll get over that.
That's why he was on the show Atlanta.
I'm not dealing with Mel Gibson, and I ain't dealing with Hulk Hogan either.